no money down. First payment wasn't due for 90 days until after it was delivered. So I was doing 90 days of sales. My monthly payment was $112 and I was doing $900 in revenue. So think about this. We get a monster for $1 from Costco. We list it for $4. Well, this CEO of this roofing company is like, I will pay $2 of that $4. So we list it for $2 because he doesn't want his roofers to go to the 7-Eleven and spend 45 minutes of their break driving to the store only to spend $4.50 at the 7-Eleven. We have guys in the community and gals that are doing 35 plus machines now, like freaking raking in 30K a month. I'm obsessed with a $100 million exit in 3 years.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Nikonomics. I'm super excited today because we talk about something that everybody in entrepreneurship loves to talk about but never goes deep on, and that's the side hustle. I sat down with Mike Hoffman. He's a serial entrepreneur, passive income expert, and he's built this diverse portfolio of income streams, including vending machines, Airbnb properties, Bitcoin mining, large-scale real estate development projects, and a community of over 400 plus vendingpreneurs that he manages. And in this episode, you are going to hear how Mike transitioned from college football coach making next to nothing into entrepreneurship through side hustles. We talk specifically about how to transition from the corporate life into entrepreneurship through side hustles, how to build passive income with vending machines as well as creative real estate strategies, and why Mike thinks that vending machine routes will soon become a private equity darling. I think you're really going to like this episode, and if you do, please give us a like and subscribe. It would be amazing. Love you guys. Let's hop into the episode. Mike, welcome to Nikonomics, my friend.
Nick, thanks for having me. Fired up to be here.
Good. I'm fired up to have you. I've been doing a lot of research. Stoked to ask you a lot of questions. But before I do all of that, why don't you give people a flavor? Who are you and how do you make money?
Yeah, so I am a Northwest guy like yourself out here in Oregon and have different income streams ranging from vending to Airbnbs to consulting with our special operations community. So a little bit of everything under the moon.
I think what's really fascinating about you is your Twitter handle is it Mr. Passive Income?
Yep.
And I just listened to an episode that you did on, I believe it's called Financial Independence is the podcast. I'm actually going to link to that in the show notes because any question that I would have asked about your business was answered in that podcast. It was like phenomenal. But you started out as an assistant coach and evolved into this, what you are now in building a passive income stream. Just like high level, tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I kind of had an aha moment when I was a coach, and when you're in collegiate athletics, like you don't want to calculate your hourly wage because you're just working all the time. So I was on one of those working on a Sunday, middle of the football season, and was like, I need to learn how to earn with my mind and not my time kind of moments. And that's right around when Tim Ferriss and the 4-Hour Work Week and that whole thing. So that's when I really started to explore other income streams that were more passive and led me to real estate and then eventually down this unattended retail and vending path.
Yeah. So give me the high level. What are you into right now? What are your passive what are your passive income investments?
Yeah, so it's a good question. We have an Airbnb down in Florida that I just outsource management. I tell the manager I don't want to know anything unless it's damage above $2,000. So I try to make it as passive as possible by letting them run point with that. I have vending machines in actually East Coast, Midwest, and West Coast, and operators that run those routes for me. And then I got a little Bitcoin mining. I'm really interested in just like value adds with real estate, just trying to find good deals. We bought some land on like the home and ADU concept and rented out both as separate homes. And we're doing a development project right now with 8 units that we're going to do 4 townhomes and sell off each individually into 8 units.
Bitcoin mining, how many miners do you have?
I actually outsource that. So I don't have any miners myself, but I have a facility out in New Jersey that does it for me. And it's like a third party thing that I'm trying to make everything as passive as possible.
Yeah. So I have a business partner, mobile home park guy, Chris Kerner. We own a business that sells crypto mining hardware. And we were in the hosting space for a while, but that was just a nightmare for us to manage. We were actually a wholesaler middleman. We had relationships with facilities that were doing the hosting, and then we had customers, and we would like charge a pass-through rate, and it just was a mess. Didn't work. So we got out of that business. Yeah, our company sells hardware to mainly Bitcoin miners.
Yeah. So how is that market these days? Is it trending one way or the other?
It's a hard market right now. There's three things that really affect mining. The price of Bitcoin is only one of them. So even though the price of Bitcoin is appreciated, which is great, you still have to factor in the cost of energy and the difficulty rate that you're hashing at. So for those who don't know, Bitcoin, I think everybody knows what Bitcoin is, but Bitcoin was specifically created to be a finite resource. There will only ever be 21 million of them. And the way that it is produced, it is quote unquote mined. And the way that it is mined is there are these computers that essentially solve, this is like a dumbed down version, but essentially solve math equations that get progressively harder so that it limits the amount of supply that's in the market. And with each successive Bitcoin that's minted or mined, it gets harder. So 10 years ago, you used to be able to mine Bitcoin on your laptop, and now it takes hundreds of computers pulled together in order to mine one Bitcoin. So that, the difficulty rate, the hash rate, is one of the three components that contribute to crypto mining profitability. And that has been really, really difficult because there are a lot of people who are getting into mining, and you have operations that their cost of energy is almost zero. You have these like flare gas operations that essentially siphon off the flare from natural gas fields, which essentially those fields will pay you to take that flare gas, and that powers their mining facilities. Or you've got people with big solar farms, or you've got people with lots of renewable energy. So anyways, it's difficult right now because of that. We expect it to come back up. We're very bullish on it. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. So that's been a very volatile business, though. That's not passive, Mike.
Yeah. I'm glad I outsourced it. You just validated my hypothesis when I was looking into it. So
Yeah, dude, be glad, please. Be glad. I could tell lots of stories on that one. So you have real estate, whether it's Airbnb or rentals. You have some crypto mining. You have vending machines. Is that it?
yeah, that's the main core of everything. We have a couple different equity play. Like we're building a oil lube station in Florida, like one of those 10-minute oil lubes, a development group that I'm a silent investor in. So there's all these kind of random projects like that that are behind the scenes in the works.
Have you gotten to the point where those and passive streams of income, have they provided you enough where you've quit your corporate job? You're working essentially on those businesses now, not necessarily for another company?
Yeah, exactly. So the cash flow from my vending route alone, November of 2022 was when I left quote unquote corporate America for kind of that dream of being able to just live off the cash flows.
How long did it take you? When did you start doing it? And how long did it take you to get to 2022?
Ooh, that's a good question. Could have been a lot shorter. Hence why I try to help people like avoid the mistakes I made. But I think I got into vending right before COVID. So like 2018.
Oh my
I got
gosh.
into real estate back in 2014. So it's just been kind of my first property was like a classic Midwest $70,000 home that was renting for 900 bucks. And I was like, oh, I broke the 1% rule.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. And then I got a second one. And then I was like, shit, I can't just keep coming up with a down payment for every home by myself. So that's when I was traveling a lot for my day job, and I was sitting in these airports, and I was like, someone's making $8 off of me with this cold brew that I'm paying $9 for, and I know it costs $1 at Costco. Like, this is fascinating, and he's not even here selling it to me. So like, he's clearly earning with his mind, not his time. And I went down this rabbit hole and broke into vending when I got home one time after just a work trip that just created a fire under me.
All right, now's the part of the show where I feel the most uncomfortable, but my therapist says I need to face my fears. So here we are. I've started a newsletter, and I want you to subscribe. And what you're going to get every single week are the aggregated conversations from that week that I have on this podcast with an overview of what their business actually looks like. I'm also going to throw in a review of one or two businesses that are listed for sale. I'll give you my opinion on whether or not the EBITDA multiple is good, or there's customer concentration, or there's red flags or green flags. And then lastly, I'm going to give you one piece of actionable advice every single week on how to buy your first business. So click the link below, subscribe to my newsletter, and let's get back into the show. Okay, so you went from 2018 buying your first vending machine to 2020, all the debt included. I think I remember you saying that you don't buy these with cash, you finance them. Many of them you can get with zero money down, but you got to make debt payments on that. To 2022, like, you're living off the income just off of your vending machines.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
And we
insanity.
have people now that will do it in 6 to 12 months because now we actually have a system of scaling. Like I was just going door knocking to build my vending route. We're now like with a strategy of kind of who to target. I could have shortened that up by at least 3 years.
Okay. So what you just said is like my main question of the day. It's very sexy on Twitter in particular, but Instagram, are you on Instagram?
I am. Yep.
I'd be shocked. I haven't seen you. Do you have a large account there?
I think I have like 47,000 followers, but it's not as active as Twitter.
So Chris, my business partner, he has 100,000 followers on Twitter and like 120,000 followers on Instagram. But
Okay.
he plays into a similar vein, which is people who are just looking for that side hustle that's going to take them into entrepreneurship. I don't mean what I'm about to say in a negative or derogatory way, but they're looking for like, oh, this is the easy. Oh, this is the hack. This is the thing that helps me skip the line. And in my experience, I've never bought an asset that was like truly passive. I've never bought something that didn't take work to get there. And you may be at a place now where you're passive, but what were the first few years like? I mean, you said you knocked doors.
So, Nick, you bring up a great point because vending's not passive. Like for me, landing your first location isn't, I mean, yeah, that's exciting of, okay, hey, I got my first vending lead wherever in Idaho. But like what intrigues me more is like when people take those steps to quantify leverage and how much their time is worth and hire that operator, build out the systems. Like when you start out, you can't delegate what you don't know what to delegate. So that's where I think the big steps for most kind of people getting into entrepreneurship is actually being able to focus on the business and not in the business. And that's like taking a step back and not being in the weeds
It's true, but
long term.
it's hard to focus on the business when you don't know what's going on in the business. You know what I mean?
Agreed. But like that's also people are afraid to think like even the knocking on the doors or the cold calling. Like one of the biggest value adds I found when I went down this coaching business was people didn't want to cold call. And I was like, okay, well, let's figure out how to do this for you. Like the classic friction, let's remove that step. But at the end of the day, it's still, you gotta, to me, I just come back to like the quicker you can build systems to whether that's vending, whether that's anything really, Bitcoin mining, like whatever all of those things are, I would gladly give away a margin to make it as passive as possible.
Tell me about this, the first couple vending machines that you have. Did you hire an operator or were you the guy going around refilling them, going to Costco?
I was a guy, yeah. So I went into a property. I was like, hey, do you guys have vending machines? They were like, nope, we need one. Can you provide one? And so I did a quick Google search. There's a company that came
Really?
out. Yeah, oh yeah.
They
There's
were
a
just
company
like,
that
yeah,
came up out of.
we need one. Sure. Like it was that easy.
Oh, well, it's like a perfect storm with these property managers. They don't want headaches from their tenants. And especially nowadays with the pressure of we got to keep rents high, all these new builds, we got to keep up with the Joneses, like all the amenities. So yeah, they were like, we want something. This was definitely a class A property, the first one I popped into. And I literally did a Google search. I found a machine manufacturer out of Iowa, and I'm from Iowa originally. I was like, okay, Midwest, I can trust these guys. Clearly, you got every Alibaba and machine company from China that pops
Yeah.
up too. But I was like, I'm
Yep.
not shipping something across the ocean. So, and then they had the most how to videos on YouTube. So I was like, all right, I'm going to figure this out myself. And Nick, no money down. First payment wasn't due for 90 days until after it was delivered. So I was doing 90 days of sales. And my monthly payment was $112 and I was doing $900 in revenue
What?
with 60% margins. And I was like, this is cash flowing more than my rentals and I can depreciate this machine.
How much are the machines?
That one was like $5,500.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Mind blowing. You get that first machine. You're like, I'm just going to figure it out. I think most people do before they get to the operator point. And you said something really important. It's like, you got to figure out your systems first. And it sounds like these first couple of machines like allowed you to figure out that system of how you manage it.
Yeah. Like, where are you going to store product? Is it in your garage? Like for us in Oregon, the weather's pretty fair. It doesn't get ridiculously hot in the summer. It doesn't get ridiculously cold in the winter. So we just had a landscaping shed on the side of our house. That's where I would go to Costco at the time, and then I just line it up when we were shopping with the kids. So I'd literally have my daughter in the shopping cart. We'd do our groceries, all the vending items underneath the cart. And that was like our Saturday routine.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
I'd stock it every Tuesday on my way to the grocery store. So it was like just kill two birds with one.
That blows my mind. You weren't a part of like a large GPO. You were just going to Costco
Yep.
and
Yep.
and buying
Exactly.
things in bulk. How quickly did it take you to ramp? So you bought that first machine, you placed it. When did you buy the second? When did you buy the third?
Yeah, the buying the machines is the easy part, especially if you finance them. The limiting factor is finding good locations.
Right.
Like I'm a firm believer that I'll take one class A, let's say apartment complex that's doing $1,200 a month, and five Jiffy Lubes doing $250. And so like for me, it's all about good locations and what your time is worth. And so that's the ramp up. That's the step that people miss out, is they just do the shotgun approach instead of like land and expand.
I've heard you say before that basically there's two types of places that you look for. There's high traffic places and there's high employee count places, right? So it's like the Jiffy Lube may be a high traffic place, but it's going to be lower margin. But that's not necessarily a high employee place to go and place those vending machines.
Yeah, and there's also levers there too with that. We need to get into like employee subsidies. So right now there's a huge push to get people back in the office. And how do we get them back in the office? When I was working for a startup in Menlo Park, we were literally right across the street from Facebook, and Facebook would park these tens of food trucks in the parking lot because they didn't want their employees to go home. And so if they stayed, they'd even give them $15 dinner credit, but you can't access it until 7 p.m. So people would stay for the free meal and just work the whole time. And so like same thing, we have a roofing company that pays us half of the cost of the vending sales in our cooler in their shop. So think about this. We get a monster for $1 from Costco. We list it for $4. Well, this CEO of this roofing company is like, I will pay $2 of that $4. So we list it for $2 because he doesn't want his roofers to go to the 7-Eleven and spend 45 minutes of their break driving to the store only to spend $4.50 at the 7-Eleven. So now they're spending more of their paycheck. They're using his trucks and gas and more time to get there. So we're literally selling all our items for 50% off and invoicing the company for the other 50%.
For the 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
25 employees, and this thing's doing as much as a 500-person apartment complex.
how many vending machines do you have now?
64. We just installed 2 yesterday.
64?
Yeah, we have one install Friday afternoon here in Oregon. I mean, we're just kind of at that bell curve of growth right now.
What kind of an operator do you need for that?
Someone that's patient and is actually really good with the details. That, like my operator here in Oregon, he's basically my boss for our Oregon route, but he wouldn't even know how to set up this Riverside on his laptop. But that guy knows the ins and outs of route, where to buy product, what's been selling, all the kind of operator things.
Oh, so he's doing everything. Like when you say operator, they're doing purchase decisions. They're also stocking. They're running the route. They're managing relationships, all that stuff.
Yeah, we run a pretty lean EBITDA, and so he's doing all of that. We might get like a picker at some point where they organize our warehouse and all of that, but right now he's doing all of that. And we do have a purchasing agreement now, so we're not going to Costco. We're getting delivered from a performance food group type.
Tell me about the morph, because you've got these vending machines, you're making money off of real estate, but you also offer, and I don't even know what it's called, so you can educate me.
Yeah.
Is it a community or coaching or a GPO that people are, a group purchasing organization that people are a part of, where you're actually helping people do this themselves?
Yeah, it's kind of all the above. So we run a community. It's called Vendingpreneurs. So they all set up their own businesses wherever they live. And then we help them through coaching of like, what kind of vending, okay, Nick goes and does a pop in at the Jiffy Lube. We quantify revenue projections and help you really see if it's a good location. We also help you find leads. So we have in-house, we have 6 full-time cold callers on staff. We have 2 email SDRs. And then, yeah, we have purchase agreements with these either machine manufacturers or product distribution folks where we're getting volume base pricing to our community.
How did that arise? People just saw you posting about it and they're like, will you teach me how to do this? And you
Yeah.
realized, oh, there's,
Yeah. Well, we talked about it earlier. My background's as a coach. And I think what drives
yeah,
me every day is how do you coach people at scale? That's the beauty of X and getting out to people, and why I'm so bullish on so many people are like, why do you share so much? Why are you so open? Like, those are your secrets. And it's like, guys, come on. It's the Mark Cuban. There's no patents. The cream will rise to the top. Like, that's my mindset. If I can help people, great. And then the second piece is the vending machine industry is going through such a disruption right now. When you think of like the old school motors, and I got to press like E4 to get a Snickers, when now you got the open shelf coolers with the
right.
AI cameras. You open the cooler, you can get your Snickers, your Diet Coke, and a bag of chips, walk away, and it's going to charge the credit card used to open the, like, it's just going through such a disruption that even 90% of our leads we find already had traditional vending, and they're either broken, the operator doesn't know how to use a cell phone, so they can't track inventory without going by the machine. It's like that whole baby boomers just holding on to this machine, and they're not getting with the times. Like, it's more than just throwing a credit card reader on there now.
It's a classic example. And you see this in real estate as well, where the owner has extracted all of the value from that asset
Yep.
because they've refused to reinvest in it, right? They view it as, oh, this is value for me, not necessarily I'm going to have the best product. And so when the time comes, real estate in particular, to sell that commercial building, it's dilapidated, but they still want to charge the market price that a new building would go for. And so it doesn't surprise me that you're seeing the same effect with these vending machines.
2 weeks ago, I was in Chicago, and I bought a route in Chicago about 3 months ago. And we've been doing like a land and expand model to grow the route in the loop, right downtown in the loop. I met with a property 2 weeks ago. They have an entire city block on Michigan Ave, 39 floors, and their interest is literally the CVS on the first floor went out of business during COVID, and so they just want a micro market with CVS type items in it. They're literally like, you can put Tylenol in here, charge 3x. We have tenants that just want to go downstairs because they're used to going to that CVS. And so, like, back to the value add of these owners and commercial real estate, they're trying to keep their tenants happy because they're just hurting so bad.
Tell me about the community. How many people are either a part of it, or how many people have you coached?
I think we're up to like 400 right now, active members.
Wow. Out of what period of time is that?
November of 2022.
Mike, that's pretty incredible, man.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's just
400 people.
Yeah. And we have guys in the community and gals that are doing 35 plus machines now, like freaking raking in 30K a month. It's not just kind of, oh, onesies and twosies. We got you a gym, you're making your $300 and you're good.
Is that the core offering, the community, or is there a coaching component as well that comes with it? Like, hey, here's the course you can buy. What does the business look like?
The main part of the business is the ancillary benefits. Like, we get bulk pricing with machines, we get bulk pricing with products, and then we find leads for you. So let's say we help a vendingpreneur get started in Boise, Idaho. Like, we're going to pull all the businesses that fit our revenue criteria to be a good vending location. We're going to either cold call or email into them on your behalf, the vendingpreneur in Boise. And then when you get a meeting, you're going to be like, well, shit, how do I approach that meeting? What am I pitching them on? Okay, we had a great meeting. What's a contract template look like? Like, my whole vision with this is like, make this as out of the box as possible. You sign up and you get started with basically leads at your doorstep.
How does it work for the vendingpreneur? Are they locked into a community contract where they like, hey, you have to be a part of this community for X period of time, or do you get a percentage of sales? What is the revenue model for you? Because that's a lot of work on your end, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're kind of fine tuning that because we're actually having the opposite problem. People come in the community. So our original plan was like, hey, come in for 6 months. We'll get you some locations. We'll get you to a revenue target, and the training wheels are off. And you've done this with 1, 2, 3, 5 locations. Now you can do it yourself. Well, now people, after 6 months, they are at that margin where it's like, why wouldn't I throw gas on this fire? So they want to keep using
Right.
the services and keep getting access to more leads, getting access to more bulk pricing. Now we're at the point now with 400 members where I have a meeting with PepsiCo at the end of the week where it's like they want to fight for shelf
Wow.
space because all 400 of these people have micro markets or machines that are going to either put Pepsi or Coke in them.
And so the community members, how are they paying for that value? Is it just the community membership, or do you like, is there an affiliate agreement with them? I mean, it almost
Yeah,
sounds like a franchise, but you're
yeah,
not a
that's kind of what
franchise.
we're not a franchise. We're kind of working through that, Nick. The most obvious is like, okay, we just slap on a monthly fee to stay involved in the community. You get rights of access to leads in your zip codes, and you get all the discounts that come with it, or back channeling it in a way of, I had a meeting with a group in Portland on Thursday. They have 680 properties across the country. Well, if I'm the contract holder and there's a standard of like these machines need to be stocked, whether they're in Boise, Eugene, or Reno, Nevada, like we got to be buttoned up about what our unified brand is going to out to the whole portfolio. So we're also working that side of like, do I just take a revenue share off the top and then I'm just kind of running point with it, or I don't know.
You ever thought about buying back all the machines and just owning them outright, standardizing everything?
No, because it goes against my model of helping other people build side hustle and
Yeah.
change. And these vendingpreneurs need to have healthy margins and need to be in business. That's why like I'm trying to go to these fights with a gun to like lower transaction. I mean, they're trying to gouge. These vending machine companies are making money off you with merchant services. They're making money off you with the machines. They're making money off the software fees, monthly software fee. It's like, pick which one you care about that aligns with your business model. And then let's be real here.
You're not asking for my advice, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. What I would do is set up a separate agency that handles all of that stuff, that does the leads and the back office and the contract negotiation, et cetera, and then charge a management fee as a percentage of revenue. It's fairly common in the healthcare space that I come from, where you have like the centralized home office is what they call it. And they do all that stuff. They do the accounting for us. They do HR, they do payroll, they do AP, they do legal, and then they charge the individual affiliate locations just a percentage of revenue, anywhere between like 5 and 15% of revenue, but it is a separate entity. And I think your community, you could even offer for free.
Yeah.
But if people want to use your agency because they're generating leads, they're negotiating contracts on your behalf, they're finding locations, they're doing all the back office support. To me, that's a very simple, hey, we'll do that work for you and charge you a percentage of your revenue.
Interesting.
The franchise model would apply here as well, but then you'd have to go through a ton of legal.
Yeah.
You'd have to actually incorporate, you'd have to get the financial disclosure document. Anyways, I just think that would be a pain in the butt. But
and the franchise kind of goes against like, building it yourself. Because I don't want to.
Right.
People want to get to 35 machines with their own, brand, and we have so many members where it's like they have teenage kids that like it'd be like your 10-year-old. Here, you get this machine, you get to set the prices, you pick the product. Like with the franchise model, it's like, no, this product, this machine, this prices. It kind of goes against the core.
Exactly.
I want you to take ownership, and I don't want. Yeah, the agency thing's really interesting to me because that's fascinating. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to pick your brain about that a little bit more.
Okay, we can do it now or we can do it later, but that's fine. I think what's fascinating about what you've done is, look down on is not the right word. I see a lot of people on Twitter, the cleaning bros or the pressure washer guys, or who, pick your poison, the real estate guys who house hacked, that are like, I did it and I can show you how. Join my community. And then all of a sudden, the business becomes showing people how, not doing the house hacking, not the pressure washing, not, the window cleaning, whatever. And the way you've described your community is, I'm sure you're making money off of the community, but you haven't forgotten about your main business. Like, you're still growing. Like, that 65 machines is a lot of machines to have out there.
Yeah.
And I think it reflects your ethos of wanting to help people, wanting to coach them instead of exploit them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't see it, but there's also a sign right here, which is the quote of like the man in the arena. And like, I've done a lot of these cleaning business how-to communities, and they get so far removed from the actual day-to-day that they forget the why behind it. And that's why behind this wall, we got shelves of literally drinks and snacks, and like that's the stuff that we're living the why. So I think you bring up a really good point, and I don't want to be another info product where people just sign up and hear me talk once a week and watch some videos that were recorded about how to negotiate contracts. Like at the end of the day, we do a good job. We have two kind of workshops a week that are live, and one's foundations of like how to build your vending route or questions that you have, and then the other one's purely me just giving updates on negotiations with the Pepsis, negotiations with the machine manufacturers, negotiations with these REITs or big groups with multiple properties, because all of that is
Oh,
real
REITs.
value.
Have you ever gotten into skilled nursing facilities?
No, but I would love to. I mean, that would be,
Dude,
yeah.
let's talk after this. My brother-in-law owns a skilled nursing facility company that has 60 facilities and is good friends and partners with a large publicly traded REIT called Care Trust.
Okay.
I also like the way you talked about it. It was like, you're not just like, yeah, this is totally passive. Oh, it's so easy. Anybody could do it
Yeah.
with just $20,000. You too. You know what I mean? Like, you're not pitching it that way.
Yeah.
You went out, you got experience in the business, you systematized things, and then you allowed you to scale. And I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I can see a little bit of a kindred spirit in you, where then you had this stuff and people started coming to you asking you how to do it. And you're like, well, I already know how to do the system, so I might as well hand this off to people and help them skip those 3 years. So for them, it may become a passive type investment, but you have to go through the process of understanding the business. Otherwise, you can't get to the passive state. Like, you don't get to where you are today without having to go through learning the business.
Right. You can't just like buy a vending route and assume the machines are going to stock themselves. Like, there's none of that. It's kind of like the laundromat thing with the guy you had on your episode. That's why,
Yeah, Tyler Purcell.
Yeah, vending is not passive at the beginning. It's all about, and that's the beauty of the active passive debate. Like, there's a continuum, and then there's a guy in my community has 35 machines, and he won't hire an operator because he's frugal as AF, and he just, that's like his therapy is going to stock machines. He'll even tell you that. He'll be like, I actually enjoy going to stock these machines. He's actually the guy I was mentioning earlier. He's got 4 teenage kids, and he gives each kid a machine to decide what they're going to stock it with. It's a competition in the house. It's so cool. It's like
That's
supply
awesome,
and
man.
demand 101 with your kids. It's like the lemonade stand 2.0.
How are these businesses valued? Let's say I had 35 machines. Are people buying them? Are they like, oh, we got 35 machines, I'll buy it for the asset value? Are they buying it off of the cash flows? Well, before that, can you sell these routes?
Yeah, there's definitely an exit strategy. So this vendingpreneur, I bought his route 3 months ago in the Loop, Chicago. So he was moving back to a different city. And I was like, well, I found you these locations. I'm not going to let you just sell them to a quote unquote competitor that's not in the community. So I bought it was doing $8,000 a month, 96K a year. He got an offer for 85, and I just matched it. Did seller financing over, I think, 2 years or something.
Say that one more time. What was it doing in EBITDA?
Right around, I think it was around 5K a month. So I got
it. So $60,000 a year. So you got it for 1.25 times.
Oh yeah. And so Nick, if I have to, outside of the future of unattended retail, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, vending is the next consolidation of private equity groups and snatching up these routes. Because literally all you're doing is throwing systems on these routes and adding new machines that aren't just limiting you to a motor of it only fits a 12-ounce can. It's like, no, this is a micro market shelf where you can do a 10-ounce Red Bull, a 30-ounce Monster. I mean, we have people doing 2-gallon cold brew. Like,
I want to describe that really quickly, because for me, most of the time I think of a vending machine as, like you said, F3 and my Snickers takes forever and the swirly thing and it pushes it out. But there are these new things that are happening now. If you've been to an airport, any major airport recently, you can walk in and you can grab something and you can walk out and it charges your phone, because there are cameras on you that are watching what you pick up. And there's still an attendant there, but I feel like the attendant is really just to make you feel better and not actually because there's a lot of theft going on. But what you're saying is that's coming to a location near you, because the technology is able to fit into either a machine or a system of cameras that you can set up locally that allow you to function in that way. Is that right?
Absolutely. So a great example of this is we took a old school vending machine, same location. So an apartment complex, I think it was like 300 units. Vending machine was doing $1,200 a month. Let's just say $1,000 for easy math. Like the classic motors, it's got to be chips on the top because those are the big motors. It's got to be 12-ounce cans that fit in these motors. Like you're really pigeonholed onto what you. We swapped that out with a smart fridge, where the to unlock the fridge door, you got to put your credit card or Apple Pay. And then there's AI cameras based on what you grab out of that fridge is going to charge you. And so people will open the door. Not only are they going to get their 12-ounce soda and their bag of chips, but they might get their laundry pods or they might get their
Yeah.
Tylenol.
It's not just food.
Same
Yeah.
location. The very next month we swapped out the old school vending machine. That thing did $2,500 just off of people having flexibility on what
Oh
they
my
want to do.
gosh.
Because you don't have to enter in a motor for every single item and
No.
redo the transaction. It's literally like open the door, grab it, walk away. The friction of this process, like you said, going into the airport now, you don't want to talk to anyone. You don't want to wait in line. You want to grab your shit and go.
Why wouldn't I go to a CVS or a Walgreens or a Walmart or anybody and just say like, hey, look, if you brand this, we can have micro locations in these schools, in this apartment complex, in this massive working complex. Would they not go for that?
I think they would. I just don't think they'd care until you get to a level of volume that will get their attention. I've approached Farmer's Fridge and they're like, yeah, you have 400 members. When you get to 1,000 operators, maybe we can talk. I'm just like, okay, well, I'll come back to you in 6 months. Game on. Challenge accepted. But, like the
Challenge.
same thing with PepsiCo and, even all these brands, the first thing they're going to ask you is like, how much volume are you going to do? Like, no offense, but Boise's a small market for CVS to care.
It is. No, I totally agree with you. But if these I don't even know what you call them, micro retail locations,
Micro markets, yeah, micro retail.
if these micro markets start popping up,
Mm-hmm.
and even if they start eating away at 5% of these companies' businesses, that's a lot of money, especially when retail has razor thin margins to begin with, because they've got these large brick and mortar locations that they've got to pay for. Whereas the micro retail market, the brick and mortar location is being paid for by somebody else. You're just coming in and offering them another amenity or potentially another revenue stream. So yeah, I got some rapid fire questions for you. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. What do you love about this business?
Waking up in the morning and looking at my dashboard on how many sales we did while we were sleeping.
What do you hate about it?
There's still machines, so things break. And if you don't have a good operator, then you're definitely going to be working in the business and not on it. So that hiring a crucial operator is probably the most important piece.
What question do you wish I would have asked that I didn't?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd probably say where things are going. I think in 5 years, I think there's going to be a machine for anything. We're talking CVS, and that even seems so outside the box of traditional Snickers and Doritos. But like, I still think you go to a Marriott and you got this cubby of snacks and stuff. If I do, rather than like a room call service, like if on the Marriott app it's like I want a Cheetos and a Gatorade, and a little robotic car brings that up the elevator to your room, like I'll pay an extra 50 cents for that if I don't have to like get out of my PJs and go down to the lobby and wait in line to check out my bottle of water while 3 other people check into their hotel room. Like that whole friction of just people will pay for convenience. That's what's every time I go to Costco, I'm like, these Kirkland water bottles are 10 cents and they sell in the airport for 6.
It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. I'm assuming you're going to say you're not jealous, but let's just humor me for this. We're all jealous creatures. So what businesses or industries are you the most jealous of right now?
I don't know if jealous is, I think AI to me, I just don't know the capabilities fully. It's kind of like Bitcoin, you wish you got in earlier than you did. Everyone wishes they would already got in than when they did. But like with me and AI, I think of every time I use ChatGPT or Gemini, I'm just like, wow, work statement I wrote up for a vending location took me 2 seconds when it normally takes me a half hour.
Let's say you have 2 hours in your day. You have no family time or no family scheduled. You have no business stuff scheduled. What are you doing with those 2 hours? What are you obsessed with right now?
I'm obsessed with $100 million exit in 3 years.
Why 100 million?
Because someone once told me that it'd take me 5 years, and now I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's just something that kind of is a goal, and I have it written up here on the whiteboard, which made me think of it. 2028.
2028, 100 million. All right.
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself? I'm going to say 5 years ago, before you started the vending machine roll up. What advice would you give yourself?
I think there's a couple things, Nick. That's a really good question. First one is something I learned from the book Never Eat Alone. The whole kind of cliche, your network is your net worth. Before you need something from someone, you better provide value first, whatever that is. I think the second thing is professional persistence. I went to the National Vending Conference 3 months ago and gave out my business card to probably 60 different suppliers. And I had one company and one sales rep that sent me a follow up after that conference. Well, guess who's going to get my business? So, like, people buy from people. And like today, people are lazy. They like, AI will do it for us. At the end of the day, I mean, you still got to send a follow up and schedule the follow up and do what you say you're going to do. So, professional persistence. And then I think the third thing, just generally, is be curious. I think your podcast is a great example of this. Like, you listen to podcasts and people ask a question only to chime in with the answer that they wanted to lead you to, where like you are generally, when you listen to your episodes, you're curious about whoever you're interviewing and you want to learn. The agency idea, yeah, you're providing ideas, but it comes out of a place of curiosity. And so that's just something more people should be curious and not just think they know it all.
That's awesome. I'm glad you've gotten that from my podcast, because that's definitely the hope with it. This has been an awesome conversation. I think just really high value. Where can people come find you? Where's the best place?
Instagram, Twitter, I think Mr. Passive. And then if folks are interested in learning about the vending niche, Vendingpreneurs is a good site for what we offer with our community, or you can just follow me on mrpassive.com, which is just like my newsletter, a lot of free resources, things like that.
Sweet. Mike, this has been awesome. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, this is awesome. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Let's do it. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Bye-bye.